Damn.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot. It is. It is.
If they
but
all gave you $1 a month.
For
Right.
real. For real. I'm trying to get that
Right.
subscription up.
Right.
If they gave you 50 cents a month.
Yeah. This is what he
Yeah.
does all the time.
All the time.
His brain.
I know.
So what were you going to say about
they
like
only needed to give me like 10 cents a month. That'd be cool, you know?
Right.
Hey, welcome back to the Riley Black Project. Crystal and John.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey,
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was just to throw you off.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
This is great for me.
keep you on your toes.
Keep you on your toes.
Yeah. So what do we need to do first? Sponsors.
Sure. This show is brought to you by Katie with
Brain
Monarch
just glitched.
Pine.
I almost just said our guest name instead
Nope.
of
It's
all
Katie with Monarch
Katie
Pine.
with Monarch Pine. She gave all of our listeners 10% off with code Riley Black. If you're a patron, you get more percent
bonus.
Yes, and a different code. Anyway, so if you want findings and blanks, check out Katie monarchpine.etsy.com.
That's right.
I did it.
And we got is it the other half?
The other half.
The other half
Of
of
the
our
shout-outs.
shout out list.
Yeah. Okay, ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Jillian B., Allison with Black River Arts, Trisha with Mom of Six Creations, Rexy with Spreading Stardust, Heather Lynn with Lobo Designs. She finally paid, by the way.
Oh, so she's back.
It tried to cancel her, and I showed her she was grayed out, and it like she fixed her card on file, and I showed how I changed her from grayed out to like because I was about to cut her off this list.
If you don't pay, you don't get on the list.
Right. Liz with the Laser Outpost X Tool Jewelry Blanks longest group name ever. Super fan Brandy Mahoney. Victor with Excited Adam, Katie with Monarch Pine, Lisa, David with Creative Cut Supply, Stephanie L, Barbie C, Madison B, Emily with That Mom with a Laser, Mom with Big Blue Laser, Mark with Big
Mom
Blue Laser Designs. I tried to go
Big
too
Blue
fast. Kathy Ray, the Testing Queen, MJ with Craft and Carry Customs, Ryan with Sprouts Creations, and Will with Crazy Laser Dad.
Whew. That was a lot.
All right, we're done.
Hope you had
Episode is over.
Yes. Then
Just kidding.
it's been another great episode of the Riley Black Project.
No, but seriously, we got to change those.
Yes.
We got to like record them separately so our poor guests don't have to sit through that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, when we record the life update,
Yeah.
we record that, but then you do the magic and like put it in the
put it in.
beginning,
Just like
speed
the
it up,
ads.
and
you're
you know,
thinking. You're thinking.
sometimes.
Well, we hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And now it's back to work. That's
Unfortunately.
that's how it is. Do we have
But
any
then
other?
we're also leaving later this week.
Yes, we're heading to but more on that in the life update.
Do we have anything you said?
Huh?
did
Do
you
we have
just ask
anything
me?
else before I introduce
No.
our guests?
Introduce.
All right. So for those of you who've been with us for a while, this is a flash. This is a throwback.
It really is.
3 years ago on episode 35.
That's insane.
We were just audio back
Just
then.
audio.
On the couch.
On the couch. Jackson.
I was in the closet.
Yeah.
No. She was in the closet.
She's come out of the closet
She's come
now.
out of the closet.
Yeah.
Well, with that, our guest today has just come out of the closet. Welcome to the show. Back
Out
to
of
the
the
show.
closet.
Welcome back to the show. Out of the closet and into a living room with a Christmas tree. Marissa from Pearl and Pine.
There you go.
Yeah, it's on
Hey,
that side.
friend.
How's it going?
Good.
Her house looks so cute and like presentable and like,
Because she knew she was going to be
I
on the
love
show.
yeah, we'll say that. But it always looks cute. She's
Have you been there?
No, but like she shows it on her social media.
okay.
I mean, sure, it's
that's
probably
why-
like
that's
the
probably
highlight
why.
reel, but
That's
still,
probably why,
but,
'cause-
you know,
Doing content. Take that mess into the other room.
that's true, right? Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Or just like hide it.
right.
Move it around to where
Shove
you're
it
not
over
showing.
there. Yeah, right.
Just offering.
So, in the pre-show, I was giving you a little warning about a story I was going to bring up, and now, mind you, again, this story from her first episode, episode 35, it lives rent-free in my head. Like
Not in
random
hers.
things will bring it up,
She's
and I
evicted
thought
that
of it. She was
memory.
like, "What?" What story? I don't think I made it that far into my episode.
So much so that I was beginning to second guess if she mixed up guests.
Well, listen,
and
I
stories.
probably could, but I just remember it so vividly. And it's what I remember most about her episode. So, and like John and I, we had said on the pre-show too, was like, it's going to happen. I need to have that story like
animated,
illustrated because again, we didn't have any video. So you only have the audio of it. And I'm like, no. Like, have you seen those reels on Instagram? I showed you one where they like animate that was actually originally a video, but like he animated that arrest from that girl and it was like super freaking funny.
Right, yeah.
But like, where you only have audio only, or maybe the video isn't as funny as like cartoons acting out.
Right.
The audio. Yeah. I need that. I need a cartoon about, so a little refresher for someone who
tell my story for me.
Right. I'll tell you your story. So on episode 35, one, you can compare both the glow up of both of our stories.
Well, the fact that we're in video.
Right. But make it to the end where we unnecessarily talked about a snake for a long time. And at the time, your mom so she was living in a house, apartment, something, and she had a snake. The snake had gotten out. They couldn't find him. It was time to move.
Now that I remember, like it was out for like a month or two, right?
Yeah, it was a while. They had started moving already.
Thought it was gone.
They had started packing. Yeah. They're like, oh, he must have got out. Like, whatever. They found no remnants of him.
Got rid of the enclosure.
And everything. They moved to their new place and were even there, I think, for like a couple weeks, a month. I'm not sure how long.
Like, hey, I like the new place.
And then all of a sudden, right, he reappears and she's like, oh shit. And she had put him in something temporarily. She had already sold his enclosure and stuff, put him in something temporarily, and he got out again. So she was able to find him much quicker this time, but she didn't, it was late and she couldn't like go out and buy an enclosure right away. So she put him in a pillowcase and then slept with him in the bed to keep him warm.
It was cold, okay?
To keep him warm.
They can't regulate their body temperature.
It's true. And
not like he hadn't done it for like months by himself anyway.
Right. And like it's not uncommon for, I'm pretty sure it was the same kind of snake that you had.
Right.
Probably.
Yeah, a ball python.
And it was a
he scared us a couple times by not eating when we had switched from like Florida to Colorado.
And he got out one time.
He did get out one time, and I think that's when you shared that story.
Maybe it might have been when he got out.
Yeah. And anyway, so I was going to ask you for an update on said snake, and you're like, huh? What?
What snake?
What snake? So,
so how's the snake?
He went to another home.
When? I don't know.
We'll need an update for sure. I need an update to this story again that lives up here and probably pushes out important information.
Update on my snake. It now lives a few feet underground.
In the yard. Wah, wah.
Yep. It died.
We have no snakes.
No snakes.
Do you want any more?
I don't know. Maybe
it was a pain to feed.
Well, it was hard. It's hard to find rats.
Yeah.
Because there was, I forget what happened, and there was like a rat shortage for a while.
The hurricane. Not the recent hurricanes, but it was a hurricane
or something.
like a year or two ago.
Yeah, but
wiped
even
out one of the rat farms.
But even in Colorado, they were hard to find. They were getting hard to find too. So
well, and his snake was bougie and didn't want the like frozen thawed.
Yeah, he didn't like frozen thawed. And it's also hard. It's also hard to get like a frozen rat to rat temperature sustained.
Right.
Because he has like
2 seconds.
He has to look it over before he eats it. And it's like, my man, this is getting cold. It's dead already.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, laser makers. Tired of the mess and hassle of gluing your layered laser projects? You know I hate glue. Say hello to Dual Tight, the game-changing double-sided tape designed just for your laser.
And guess what? Now's the perfect time to try it out. Creative Cut Supplies is excited to bring you the Dual Tight Sample Pack, and it comes with an awesome bonus.
Here's how it works. Grab your sample pack today, and they'll throw in a $10 gift card for your next order. That's like getting your sample pack practically free.
Don't wait. Head over to creativecutSupplies.com and snag your Dual Tight Sample Pack now.
Simplify your projects and elevate your laser making game. Do it.
Attention all laser owners and crafters. Are you tired of spending hours cutting, painting, and assembling laser products? Look no further than Crazy Laser Dad Laser Ready Blanks.
Their high-quality blanks are expertly sourced, tested, and ready to use with your lasers. Say goodbye to the hassle and frustration of time-consuming projects and hello to more time creating and selling.
Plus, with their wide selection of items, you'll surely find the perfect blank for all your customers.
So, what are you waiting for? Visit crazylaserdad.com today and take your laser crafting to the next level with their laser ready blanks.
Oh my
The
goodness.
same
I
reason
think maybe
I
we
want-
talked about it to begin with, and again, I didn't get to the story, but we had snakes too. My ex and I had 2 snakes, and he feeds them live too. But I think the same reason he's trying to rehome them, because it's so much time and money to go get the rats to feed them and stuff like that.
Right.
Well, yeah, he was going through too, where like he would get, even if he could get a live one, he'd spend like $10 on a live rat, and then he wouldn't eat it right away, or he wasn't hungry, and he was like, "Cool, I'm so glad that I get to throw this away."
Because so I would kill it.
He would not.
I just needed it live, so it would stay warm.
Live.
Well, I didn't want it. I didn't want the rat to, because what happens is the rat can like nip at the snake and cause like little, blemishes on.
Right.
So I didn't want to do that.
Or even an infection, depending on how bad it is.
So I would kill the rat. Like I would knock the rat out, and then I think this needs a disclaimer.
I think
Peter don't come for me. I was just feeding the rat. I was just feeding the snake. But I would knock the rat out.
You secretly probably really liked it,
I mean, it became like a chore. It wasn't really here or there for
right. You're not a serial killer, serial killer.
No. I was just doing it to feed the snake, and I didn't want the rat to harm the snake.
Right. Yeah.
I just need the rat to keep its temperature.
Right.
That's all I needed it for. If I could have done it on my own, I would. But yeah, then he wouldn't eat it. He still wouldn't eat it,
and then it was like,
I just spent all this money on a
time
rat.
to go get it. Yeah.
Emotional turmoil.
And then one time I went to, I was at work and I remembered, he needs to eat or whatever. So I bought the snake. I bought the rat while I was on shift. And they give it to you in a cardboard box.
Oh, God. So you had it in the car the whole time?
Well, I almost didn't have it in the car.
Did it get out?
It almost did. Its head was popping out. Because it had chewed through the cardboard.
Oh,
But it was also in a bag.
Right.
In a plastic bag.
Yeah.
And then what I started doing was I bought a little plastic thing, and I gave it to the people and like, put the rat in here so it doesn't chew through.
Did you buy a lunchbox?
I just imagine
or
like a fish in a bag,
Yeah,
from
exactly. It's a rat. It's a rat in the bag.
Right.
So yeah, it's a pain keeping them. But I mean, I would like, but no, I don't know. It's just
It's like, I love chameleons. But
they're
they're
so hard.
high maintenance.
They're so hard between humidity and this. Although someone found one.
Yeah,
like recently
I saw
in the
that,
neighborhood.
And it was like a super rare one too.
Yeah, veiled. Yeah, crazy.
Right.
Anyway,
I always like it for the first month, and then I'm like, what did I
Once
get myself
the newness wears off, the honeymoon stage wears off, and you're like, okay, now this is just a chore.
Yeah.
So a lot has changed besides our memory capabilities in the last 3 years too.
That hasn't changed.
That's true. That's been pretty consistent, right? Yeah. So, in 2021, November 2021, you were celebrating having just hit like 50K followers on IG. Do you have any idea how many you have now?
Yeah, I have 445.
Damn.
Wow.
That's a lot. Yeah. That's a lot of people.
It's a lot. It is. It is.
If they all gave you $1 a month.
For real. I'm trying to get that subscription up.
If they gave you 50 cents a month.
Yeah. This is what he does all the time.
All the time.
His brain.
I know.
So what were you going to say about
they
like
only needed to give me like 10 cents a month? That'd be cool, you know?
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a penny
Better
is
get that
also fine,
Patreon.
right?
I know.
So, I mean, Lizzie, who I know you're friends with as well. I remember when we had her on, she had, I think, similar number. I mean, at the time it was like 100-something thousand, but like that obviously, so two-part question. It obviously doesn't always translate into like tons and tons and tons of money and sales. Just because you're getting views, that doesn't mean people are ordering. And
Right.
then, fuck, I already forgot my second question. Oh, and then how did you get there? I think you've talked about it previously of like the consistency and stuff. So just, I guess, talk about those two things. Like that followers
Right.
don't exactly directly like mean you have tons and tons of money, but then also
Right.
how did you get from, you know, wherever to the 445,000 followers now?
Yeah. Okay, so I guess I'll talk about the second one first. So I
Okay.
had 50 back then, and then I think by the next summer I had 100,000. And then
Yeah.
it took me quite a while to get to 200,000. So I went from that 100,000, let's say June of 2022, and then I hit 200,000 at the beginning of this year. So it's been a
wow.
slow like trickle and it's taken
Yeah.
a while, but this past year, 2024, I went from 200 to 445 in a year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no way did I ever think that was going to happen. So
Right.
yeah, it just happened that I had like quite a few viral videos towards the beginning of the year. And the traction was just like insane and everywhere was blowing up. And that's how
Yeah.
but I hit 400,000 probably in the summer.
Okay.
And it's been a slow crawl from 4 to 445.
Right.
So it's just cycles, I feel like. And no matter what I try to do, and you talked about the consistency, the same thing every single day, whether I get 2 million views or I get 200 views. Like I try to stay consistent because it's not so much that one video that creates much of anything. Going into views being sales. Those people that see, especially what I do, maybe if I sold a keychain or something like a quick turnaround, smaller ticket item, they might initially buy off of a viral video. But something that I do is going to take a lot of relationship and understanding of the value of the product. So that's going to take time to build that up.
Right. Well, and with your pieces, it's more of like an investment. It's not like, oh, I have these in every single room. It's like, oh, there's like, you know, I want to do something with my logo or, you know, a gift for my child or, you know, family member, those kind of things. So it's also, those take a little bit more like nurturing and like wearing at them. So even more important, I would assume, for that consistency and, like you said, showing them like the value that goes into it. All of your behind the scenes really shows people, like, because people can underestimate, especially when we use a tool like laser, scroll saw, whatever, that like there isn't a lot that we're really, you know, or that you are doing to those signs. But when you show them all the background of like how many layers you cut out, like gluing them together, the priming, the painting, the sanding, when you have to paint it again because there's like issues with the paint curing and all of that, showing that then helps, you know, show the value in what you're charging.
Right. I think with my whole behind the scenes thing, my heart in it is I really like to teach what I've learned because I've learned a lot of trial and error, but also from a lot of other makers on here. Just as like I try to then pass that on. So my heart is definitely teaching and helping other people, but within that, I'm showing my customers then the behind the scenes of what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's like a twofer. You're helping other makers while also showing the buyer like what all goes into the things that you make for them. And so when you say for like consistency and content, what is consistency for you? Like how often do you post, like that kind of stuff?
Every day a reel. And I sometimes will take a day off, and if I do, I usually will put like a static post up that day.
Mm,
Um, I don't know that my formula is within whatever Instagram's algorithm is right now because my posts have not been doing so great.
right.
So I don't know if what I'm saying is like best practices, but
Right. Yeah.
it's
Little
just what
disclaimer, but I mean, so
I've been doing.
mine.
Hey there, podcast listeners. How great would it feel if this was the year you finally got to escape your 9 to 5 to embrace your lifestyle of creativity and entrepreneurship?
Every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, Eon Laser USA invites you to join the Freedom to Create webinar, where you'll learn how to make this a reality.
Join leading laser industry professional and brand ambassador Emily, aka That Mom with a Laser, and Eon Laser USA's sales manager Alicia as they dive into all things Eon.
Learn about the advantages of owning an Eon Laser and get the scoop on Eon's rewards and partner benefits. Plus, get a glimpse at how everyday people who started out with zero experience paid off their lasers, scaled their businesses, and transformed their lifestyles.
So if you're ready for a lifestyle change, head over to eonlaser.us/whyus and sign up for the Freedom to Create webinar today.
Thanks for listening. Laser on.
Welcome to the revolution in laser engraving. Introducing Lens Digital, the creators of the game-changing Pyburn rotary attachment. With the Pyburn 4.0, you can turn ordinary cups, tumblers, glasses, and more into extraordinary masterpieces.
Looking to engrave niche items or want the functionality of a Chuck rotary? Look no further than the Pyburn Grip, Lens Digital's Chuck-style rotary. With a range of different sized jaws, you can easily engrave a wide variety of items. All Lens Digital products are compatible with most CO2 and Galvo lasers and were designed specifically for the laser industry. All that paired with the best-in-class customer support, Lens Digital is your one-stop shop for all of your rotary needs.
Transform your laser engraving game with Lens Digital, where makers succeed. Unleash your creativity today.
And don't forget, we are proud Lens Digital affiliates as well. If you're shopping, code Riley Black will take $50 off any order of $600 or more. I only have I think I just hit 2,500 followers, and I don't even look at my views anymore because if I do, I'll never want to post again because I'll post some and some will be quick and some won't take anything and it will take much of anything, but I know that Instagram too will send me those notifications. Oh, your reel hit this many views, and it'll kind of I'll get a notification if it pops off, and if I don't get a notification, I don't need to know that only 75 people saw what took me 2 hours to create or whatever, So I think even, it's kind of nice to know that even someone with 445,000 is struggling with views and engagement and content and that kind of stuff because, at small beans, it's what am I doing this for? And ultimately what you're doing it for. It's just hard to be consistent when sometimes it feels like you're putting that work in and you're not seeing the benefits quote in views and that kind of stuff.
Right. What I've had to train myself to do is take the emotion, the separating the end result and the doing of it. That comes to the consistency of no matter what the numbers are, I'm going to do it because I genuinely love what I do. Right. And essentially it's like a portfolio that lives there. You never know. Sometimes something could go off 6 months later and you never know. But it's more so for me because I'm the type of person that if I'm not consistent on something, if I even slack off a little bit, I'm on to the next thing. I'm completely out of it. It takes really hard for me to get back into it. But it's also I truly love what I'm doing. And so then the numbers aren't bringing me up and down anymore because in any sort of business, whether it's this type or another, you're going to have good seasons and bad seasons. So you have to do it for the love of the game, essentially, the love of the dream of the small business and not hold so tight to the numbers.
Yeah, that's true. Just separating yourself and the emotion from IG's like views and the views from IG, and like if the algorithm loves you today or not. And it's always like the same thing happens like with products. It's always like, oh, this one's gonna be like the one everyone wants to order, this one, and then nobody orders. And then I'm like, look at this like dumb thing I made, and everyone's like, oh my God, that's amazing. I need 20 of them. Right. And so like I've realized early on that I cannot predict what the people are going to want and need. Like I don't have that magic ability. So then it just comes down to like, I know for me, struggling with the content has been like personal, how I feel about myself, and then also how I feel about my workspace. So that's why before the pre-show, we were kind of giving you like a tour of what the behind the scenes. And my work area was just like, I never had the like pretty backdrop that like I would see other people do when they would go live. Like me, it was literally all of these tripods and like the clutter in my inventory and all that, which, you know, the message still got across, but I just loved like the feel of the videos that had all of that, you know what I mean? And I kept posting pictures of my old office when we were selling the Mira 9.
Right.
And my old office, like I chose, you know, paint color and furniture, and like I had my glitter wall, and I had like all, like I loved how it felt. And that goes into one, wanting to work in the space, and two, wanting to create content in the space.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, having a good productive workflow too. So I saw you making a bunch of like furniture to hold different things to make what you're doing easier. And I know there was a couple that you're like, I'm so mad that I didn't like do this earlier. And I already know like what the changes we're making. I'm mad we didn't do it earlier.
Yeah.
But like, it's going to be so great like once it's done, because it really just makes so much of a difference.
Oh, for sure. And it's always that way. It always seems so much harder than what it's going to be. Oh, I don't have the time. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. And then you're like, wait, for real? But yeah, I made these like rolling cart things that you can store things and they can lock together, and like all this, they're my tabletops. Instead of just having tools scattered around everywhere, having to use them on the floor, which I still prefer the floor most of the time, but
yeah. Well, but you have that option, and like, it was, so for me, like my desk was an L because that's what fit best in my old office. And then for this, you know, my desk was an L, and then my laser was over here. Well, then my acrylic is over here. So if I wanted anything for acrylic for my laser, I had to go out and back in to like the other part of the U. Well, that's also where we shove shit out of the way for the rest of the workshop. And so like if I wanted acrylic, I not only had to just go over here, I had to move this table out of the way, probably this box out of the way. And so then it was like, no, I don't want to. You know, it's just easier not to too many times. So it's a pain in the ass to shift everything. Like it's going to take me twice as long to ship out packages and stuff today, because I'm like, where's this? Where's that? You know, whatever. But once you're done, it really is like, it's worth it. And hopefully I'll want to create all of the amazing content besides a podcast.
Yeah. The biggest thing for me that I haven't done up until this year, whenever I moved here, was actual dust collection. And that was the same way. It got to the point where it was just way too much, and I couldn't, like, I would walk into the garage and instantly be covered in dust. And I was so just like, but at that point, before actually moving and getting out of it, there was almost nothing I could do anymore because everything was just so covered. So this time, same thing with the rolling carts. I told myself, I am doing it before I move in, because I told myself that before. I was like, oh, when I get there, I'll figure it out. You're never going to figure it out when you get there. So I made the rolling carts before I moved. I got everything set up. Dust collection, not one tool went on until I had like dust collection dedicated.
Nice.
And it's been such a lifesaver to keep everything clean and organized.
So are you, it sounds similar to me. Do you like procrastinate on anything that is even slightly inconvenient.
Yeah. And then I make it so much harder for myself because it would have been just so easy to get it done. And it's also the mental space that it takes to tell yourself that you need to continue to do that. If I would have just like emptied the dishwasher 7 days ago, I could stop telling myself that I need to empty the dishwasher.
7 days. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And feeling guilty about not doing it, but then still not doing it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, oh, I'll get to it. Just move it to the end of the list. And then it's like, if I would have just done it.
Right.
But that's honestly, I don't think it's ever going to change. It just is what it is. You know,
we just gotta, we gotta find the best ways to work around how our brain functions. And for you, it was making those things and starting those habits in the other house so that you could bring them over to the new one. And that's what was difficult about, moving into this house when we moved was, our truck was delayed. It showed up at like 11 o'clock at night. So we just had them throw everything mostly into the garage. And then we moved like the beds into the rooms, and that's pretty much it. And then afterwards we got most of the like personal stuff out of the garage. But then we had to get back up and running with work. And so it's like, this is the best way I can think of it for now. It's just going to have to work because we need to get back to working. And you're like, we'll adjust it later. And then later just never comes if you don't actually make it a priority. Right. So it's like, we've been reading a lot of or like listening to like.
When we first moved in here, like one of the big priority was to get like a studio up and running as well. Right. So
that was top priority.
Everything else kind of like took a back seat. I remember a lot of like keychain things and stuff was in what's now my mom's room. And I would have to go in there and like we were opening as orders came in, we were opening. So it's like, oh geez, that was opened up. Right. Then someone ordered an extra strength. Okay, gotta open the extra strength.
How about the ones where someone ordered the astronauts and we couldn't find them for a year? Oh, then we couldn't find them. Yeah, because you hid them from me in my car.
Oh, that's right. We emptied her car, except in the Pathfinders. I don't know if you know about the Pathfinders, but I found this nifty little storage space.
Super nifty.
When we were packing, like, oh, we could fit so much more stuff. So I put all the stuff in there, closed it, and then put everything else on top of it.
Could never find
emptied
it.
out her back and like, all right, we're done, and forgot about the underlying stuff.
The nifty little storage.
Until I forgot what was I cleaning out your car?
I think so.
Or something.
Yeah, you were like deep cleaning my car, and you like walked in the house.
I'm like, look what I found.
The freaking keychains that we had lost a year before.
And then the containers that you were looking for too. Yeah. Everything was under there.
Yeah.
So
it must have been a lot then.
Yeah,
it must be a big area.
It's where I think where like originally the spare tire in the design was. Yeah. But now cars don't really come with spare tires, so it's just like a storage thing that has like a flap. So when it's closed, it looks like the bottom of the trunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's level.
Yeah,
so
I didn't even know.
You don't think that there's something under it,
right?
Unless you're looking for like a spare tire, or it's there. And then I lift it up and I'm like, oh, look at all this other stuff. It's Christmas.
It drove me crazy forever too. I'm like, where the fuck could they have gone? Yeah,
like, because we had opened up all the boxes.
We had opened up there was nothing anywhere, and like it was like again nearly a year when we
figured they like left it on the truck and like forgot about it.
Well, no, but we didn't let them take any of my inventory for that reason. So we knew it was us. We knew it wasn't them because I wouldn't let them touch my work shit.
But yeah, so I say, back to this was priority, so we got this up and everything. And then once we did this, we were like so tired that everything else just kind of like, we made it work. And since it was working, why fix something that's not broken?
Yeah.
But
the other thing
optimal.
Right. Well, and like when you just kind of like you deal with it because you either don't know. The other thing was he didn't know a better solution, and the thing that I want to do with selling the 9 and getting the 5 is most people you see with lasers, they're upgrading. They're getting the bigger one. They're getting the faster one. No one really talks about getting rid of like that was my dream laser. I was so proud of that one. It was paid off before it showed up. Like it was like a huge like business like accomplishment for me. And so I never really considered like selling it for something smaller. But when I thought about it, I was like, you know what, like yes, I love this machine, but at the same time, like, it's not really the right tool for the job. I don't make a ton of stuff. I don't sell really products or production.
It's the right tool. It's just the wrong size.
Right, but that's what I mean. It's like getting like a big belt sander and you make one cutting board a year. You know what I mean? Like, is it really necessary for your current workflow?
Right. It makes that one cutting board super easy.
Exactly.
But it's only one cutting board.
And so it's like things like, you know, and my goals then were way different than what they are now. Now it's content. If I'm making something, if I'm making a keychain, it's to try and show people how I use my keychain products to make something or, you know, whatever.
And then buy this file.
Right. Exactly. And then I've now figured out what I enjoy making, because then I was still trying to figure it out. It was still like, I think it was like a year or two in my laser journey. And so now, like, sizing it down, it'll be better for what I'm actually doing. And then now it'll give me more room to, and more flexibility in making my space more productive.
Yeah, and it also helps that it's like a new line.
Yes, that definitely helps.
You know, it's a new line. They're faster.
Oh, I know. I'm so excited.
It's
You getting one too?
I'm getting a bigger one. I'm doing the opposite.
Oh, see, but that makes sense because you've tested. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I thought
mine's
I
like a little
stuff, but
I struggle because now I have mine inside my house. So I've done inside and outside before, and I will say inside is healthier for the laser. I did have and I didn't have an option when I first got it. It had to go into the garage. Well, it just gets dusty and dirty. I don't feel like it was great for the health of the laser. Plus, going in and outside, I don't know. I didn't. So what happened was I moved from a really big garage that could easily house the laser, and I had plenty of other room, to a normal 2-car garage where I lived at my rental house. So it couldn't really fit, and I didn't have anywhere to vent it out in the garage, so I wanted to put it inside, which I definitely love it. It's so much easier when cutting and stuff like that inside, better for the laser. But when I went to upgrade, now that I'm at the new house, I wanted to like go big or go home. We're going to get the biggest thing ever. And then I had to realize once I started measuring that like it's going to have to go back in the garage, and I don't really want it to do that. So I'm getting the Nova 10, which is a step up from my Mira 9, but I still get all the S stuff. No more aligning mirrors. They had me at no aligning mirrors. I said, I don't care. Give me this. No. Plus, if I show draw my Mira 9, I think Eon would probably disown me. I cleaned it like once 7, in the last year.
Yeah. Or was it? Did you have a 7? No, you had a 9. But I saw it when it was in your garage.
Yeah. It's bad. And it's still bad now. I can't even see inside the glass because I also use it as a table because, like, why not?
Oh, yeah, same.
So it's got paint all over it. I don't have my little autofocus anymore. At this point, I could, like, I know how to do it, but I don't have any tools. I don't have, I don't know how it runs, knock on wood. I don't know. So I'm super excited about getting my Nova. And then it's supposed to be more of a cutting machine, which I didn't quite realize. So when I bought my Mira, it was still, Eon was a newish company to the DIY world, or whatever you want to call it. So I didn't have very much knowledge at all on any of them. There was only a couple of people that actually had one prior to when I got one. So I got my Mira and I was so excited. I thought it was going to cut all this stuff, and it does cut all of this stuff, but it's not technically a cutting machine from what I've learned. It's more of like an engraving is where it's probably most optimal.
Well, especially for how thick of stuff that you do. So for like the 9, it worked perfectly fine for cutting 1/8 inch, some 1/4 inch, you know, like that kind of stuff. But like if you want to cut anything, especially anything above, like the Mira can cut, like if you have one piece of like 1/2 inch that you want to cut, you probably can, but it's going to be slow. The edges are going to be charred. You may have to do a second pass. Again, it goes back to like the best tool for the job that you're doing. And
I do
for what you're doing.
All day, every day. And then I can cut 1/2 inch plywood very easily. And I get it done. It's lasted me. I got it when I was talking to you on 21. I had it. I've had it. So now I've had it for over 3 years and it's been great. It's done exactly what it needs to do. Yep. But I do think that maybe I should have got the Nova from the beginning. Yeah. But it's done exactly. It's gotten me here.
Yeah. Well, and then, I mean, it's also like what you can do and afford at the time. There's times where like, okay, I really, you know, maybe the 9 was like what you could afford. The 9 was definitely the max I could afford at the time. And actually, I don't even think the Novas were around yet when I ordered, because I had her for just under 4 years. So, and I was like, I was literally shipment 4. So I don't think the Novas were around yet. Because I remember when the Novas.
I think they were whenever I bought.
Yeah, they might. Yeah. They might have been that next year. I don't remember. Because, now that I think about it, I know Amanda has she had one of the first Novas. And I don't know if she got the Mirror 5 before or after that. But yeah, it's just, you know, sometimes you have to get the one that you can get at the time and then you upgrade later. And I think there's no fault in that. It's like, because again, like when what you do and what you like to do can shift so quickly and so easily that like, oh, okay, this might have been the right tool for what I was doing at the time. And if I hadn't had the 9, I probably would have felt like I was being held back, even though I may not have been really. But my brain would have been like, oh, I can't do big stuff. So it's holding me back. Now I need the bigger one.
Well, and
now I had the bigger one and I realized I made like 2 big things and I didn't enjoy it.
Right. Well, also too, what comes into play is if the 9 is like, let's just use the 9 as an example. That's their best seller and everyone has it.
The most common.
Well, now what's going to be in the market are bigger signs and bigger things because everyone's making things on this bigger bed than a 7 or a 5.
Right.
But you never know. You don't know where the trends are going to go. You don't know what's going to like.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you also don't know, in our case, you bought the 9 and you didn't really have she makes awesome, amazing signs.
I didn't have
that
thing
one
yet.
thing yet.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to be keychains. Like, hey, I don't need
which
this
was purely accidental.
Right, and it's not, and it's also not like, yes, the 9 would still work for keychains if you're making the whole bed of keychains.
And I don't.
But when you're working on a space that's more conducive to a 5, and then the machine's 4 years old, they come out with a brand new line, and this and that, you're like, well, I don't need all this space.
Exactly.
So I can sell this big old machine for a smaller, newer machine.
Right.
I mean, it became a no-brainer.
And now it's going to someone who actually does make bigger signs and like, you know, wood and all of the above. And for me, it was too much laser for me turning it on every couple weeks to do keychain or a random baby milestone here and there.
And I think now, although, you know, with like, you have your One Lasers and X tools that are bringing new people into the industry. We're getting into the phase now where people are getting into their second machines. Like we sold ours. You're thinking of getting the Nova 10. And are you getting rid of the 9 or are you keeping the 9 and...
I think I have to for space wise. Like I don't need 2 lasers. Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like everyone would love to have 2 lasers, but the reality is they're bigger machines. So if you're going to, especially if you're upgrading now. So I think this wave of like used machines is being out there, which before was like new or like refurbished.
Yeah.
But not necessarily like used. So I think there's
they
a
were
lot,
like more industrial.
I know
like,
I'm seeing a lot more posts about
cut out
people
that part where I
selling
didn't
their
take
laser.
care of it. So when I go to sell it, you know.
Right? Hey, they know what they're getting if they follow you at all.
Yeah.
But it's also one of these things where we're getting into the line of used machines.
Yeah.
Because they've been around.
It's a great way for people to start.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna bring in more people along. You know, so if you're in the market, and you're looking for like, you know, should I go with a One Laser? Should I go with an X tool? Should I go with this and that? It's like now in that conversation is maybe I could pick up a used 7 or a used 9. Let me check out Marketplace because now it's becoming an option. Yeah. Because we're in that like wave in the industry. It's pretty crazy to see.
Well, and this one is, I think, the person who bought Mariah Carey. She she already had a 9. And I think she either has like 2 homes or like, so she had another one is up with I think, I don't know, Michigan or something that starts with an M. And then this is like their Florida
Montana.
home.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think
Minnesota.
it's Montana. It might be Minnesota. I don't know. It starts with an M. One of those. Colder place. And she was actually there when she bought it, but it made sense for us to move it then so that we could start prepping our space.
Right.
And so her husband came and got it. And so I think her husband was actually down here in Florida, and they're in...
Yeah, on the West Coast.
Yeah, what's the...
Fort Myers?
Yes, that one. I was going to say the one that keeps getting hit with hurricanes.
And
she literally did say, she was like, you know, she called it like Hurricane Alley, unlike, you know, Tornado Alley. She doesn't want to spend all this money, you know, 10, 11,000 at least for, you know, another new Mira 9 when it very is, it's a reality that we know living in Florida that like, you know, the hurricanes tend to like the West Coast lately. And so you don't want to spend all that money and it be taken out, you know, next hurricane season or whatever. So she got a deal.
Hopefully not.
Getting
Fingers
ours.
Crossed.
Right?
We need to keep insurance companies here.
We do. Yes, right? No more hurricanes. But now I'm sure she's going to go on to love it and actually use it to its full potential. And I plan to do the same thing with my Mira 5.
Our Mira 5.
It's fine. Okay.
I'm doing stuff now.
You are. That was the other thing. That laser was like mine.
Yeah.
And then all the new lasers we've got since he's been self-employed are now like, he kind of took them over.
You're like, don't touch it. Yeah.
Right?
You have your 9. I have my
like
fiber.
My business paid for it, but like he learned the fiber and the X tool that I've like barely used because I'm doing other shit. So the other thing that has changed for you from 3 years ago was relationship wise. So at the time, your husband was your packer. He would like pack the signs. He worked for a moving company. And then it ended in divorce, which then brings you on to a whole, like, I mean, that's a major life change. And having a small business and going from, you know, the 2-income household to a single mom of 3 girls, like how did you manage all of that and a small business? And I mean, 2 moves, you know, from that. You just bought your home, which congratulations. That's amazing. So yeah, just tell us a little bit about like the struggles and like how you work through that. And another 2-part question, recording all that content when you're going through something so emotional, like how did you manage?
Yeah, don't let me forget that one because we just talked about this memory thing. You can't do 2 things at once.
I know, right? Okay. Remember it, babe. I won't.
First one was how did I like manage it all? I don't know that I did. I just survived. Right. But I think so. You even mentioned 2-income household. That was something too. My money was just play money. I didn't pay for anything. So I had to go from never living on my own, never being on my own, never paying for anything on my own, to completely now doing everything on my own. So
that just gave me chills. That's terrifying.
Yes. Although looking back at it now, it was so empowering because I think God put me in that position because I never had done those things. And I thought that all of my unhappiness at that point was all his fault. You know, like when you get to that point, you're just so, I don't know that in ways I was unhappy with him. It's very, very layered, but I think I was just unhappy with life. I had gotten to a point where I was trying to figure myself out. I had been with him since I was 19. I had never actually found myself or anything. So I was trying to come into that. And in my mind at the time, the only way that I could get over that slump of the uncomfortability that I was feeling was to leave. And so that's what I chose to do at the time. But in that, I've grown so much in every aspect, every possible way, because I forced myself to just figure it out, you know?
Right.
So I did I tried. So a lot of it was planning. I'm a very big planner though. So like I could tell that I was in a way planning, but in a way definitely a God thing because I didn't start my business thinking, oh, I want to leave my husband one day. I hope I can have some income.
Right.
Like that's
Lies.
never how I promise I didn't. I
She's
didn't.
like, I need to get
I
a
can't
side
do
hustle
that.
so I can leave.
Yeah, I can't do that. But whenever I did start kind of getting the idea, but I was so like scared. Also, looking back, I was talking to a friend about the other day. I think I was delusional as well because the numbers actually didn't add up to be able to afford any of this, but in my
Right.
head they did. So I just like went
That's-
along like they did.
Sometimes
That's called
That's-
girl math.
Right.
Yeah.
But sometimes that actually works because I feel like having too many facts sometimes can
Yeah.
shut down,
Yeah.
can limit you. And like
Yeah.
if like when you just have to figure it out sometimes,
Yeah.
that's what actually gets you to that point. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the growth might have even been completely different had you stayed in that marriage, had you not like pushed yourself outside of your comfort zone and done all
Right.
these things that you had never done before. Those are probably a direct correlation to why you have what you have now, and that's
Right.
because you just had to figure it out, you know? Like
Yeah.
you didn't have I think this has been my answer, and I'm sure other people's answer sometimes is like, you know, how did you do it? It's like, well, because you didn't have any other choice.
Right.
Like you giving
No.
up wasn't an option. You know, you had 3 girls who are looking up to you, who not only need to be fed, but like are looking to their mom as someone that they can look up to and, you know, aspire to be some portion of, you know, so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. I lost my train of thought I was going to say.
Sorry.
But yeah. But yes. When I was going through the worst part, what is it? Social, not social, like
Yeah.
in my own life, personally.
Right.
Personally, that's when my business exploded. And it's not anything that I did. I actually feel like I stepped back to answer your second question. I feel like I stepped back from being so transparent and sharing everything. In my business still, it's totally a God thing. That's what I feel like
Yeah.
people call it imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. I can't take credit for any of this. What did I do? You know,
Yeah.
like I definitely feel like it has to be like a God thing, you
Yeah.
know, even the talent and the skills and the little quirks that I have, like all of them work perfectly together to make
Right.
this thing work, you know?
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know what I did. So
Right.
yeah. Yeah. But it was really hard. It was hard I think one reason why I stepped back with it was you can't share anything really real time during the actual like split and
Right.
divorce thing. I was so forward facing and like public facing. So you have to be kind of
Right.
careful. And then I didn't want to lie about what
Right.
I was going through. So I just kind of didn't talk about
Left
life
it
at
out.
all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
it-
kids involved and all of those things and like internet and like everything lives like for forever, even if you delete it.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's just so many factors. Yeah.
Yeah. And then once I kind of was like out of it, I'm like, well, now how do I bring it up and talk about it now?
Right.
I don't so
Right.
I'm like I don't know. And it's not something that I want to shy away from, but I also don't want to be defined by it. You
Right.
know,
Of course,
at the
of
same time.
course. Yeah, because it's like you don't want to be like, oh, ta-da, nothing happened. But then you also don't want to make like a thing of it. Like, hey, look at me. I'm divorced and I'm a single mom. You know what I mean? Like nobody wants like
Ask
that
me for
attention.
advice.
Right. No one.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are those people, and some people, that's how they step into that, like, you know, new part of their life that they never saw happening. Like
Right.
there's random people that I see on the internet all the time that are like, their content is like getting through a divorce and like being like a single mom, or
Right.
their content is this. And your content, when it comes down to it, is truly like your art and what you create. And any of that extra stuff is just kind of like, not filler, but it's just like, you know, supplemental to what
Right.
your main story is. So,
Right.
and again, the only reason I touch on it just because it's like, so when we do find that space to share the not so pretty parts of our lives is when I've found that's when I'm getting the messages and the comments and all of that of the people of like, me too, I've been there, you know, like, a couple of them that we've shared previously were, our miscarriage, which, cause that for me, I felt so alone. And when I started talking about it, I realized how many other people had been through it who had never shared their story, which they don't have to. It's theirs to share or to not. But I shared mine so that hopefully someone in my similar situation would not feel as alone. And
that's in that scenario, like the doctor was like, oh, you know, this is super common, this and that. And you're like, well, is it? Because I don't know anyone who's gone through it. And then you start talking about it, like, oh, wait. Everyone has.
Yeah, and like close friends who had never talked about it. And I'm like, whoa, you know? So just little things like that. And like the bug situation that we went through for like a year. It was
the
like
bugs that are not to ever be named.
Yeah, you just can't even say it. Like it's still like major like trauma from them. But in speaking about it, I found friends, again, who I'd never known, went through a similar thing, and it was a really tough situation, and it's just like, oh, okay, like, anyone who goes through a divorce, you're not the first one to go through it, and there's life on the other side, but, like, when you're in it, it sometimes it doesn't feel like there is, because your whole normal is changing completely. And now you not only have like, okay, sure, a job to report to. I think that's a little bit easier than like,
I don't know,
a small business.
I've seen that scenario really affect people and like your normal 9 to 5. Yeah. And that's when it's not all riding on like, you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I feel like your job can still be, it's obviously still difficult. Right. But like, I guess with like a 9 to 5, I see that like, as long as you're like doing most of what you need to do, like they're probably not going to also let you go as you're going through a divorce.
And a 9 to 5, depending on what it is or whatever, you can go in with like a bad attitude and still do it. It's hard to, and this is going back to your second part of this question, it's hard to go into like going through that and fine, you can make the signs angry. You can make the signs like feeling like shit. But when there's a camera pointed at you doing content, you have to like smile and you have to seem like happy and like, you know, you didn't want it to define you, so you weren't talking about it. So it's like nothing to see here. You know, it does. So how did you like continue to create content when all this is going on behind the scenes? How difficult was it?
So I definitely think my work is my escape from life. I think that's actually going back to like, oh, I didn't start my business to leave my husband, but I think somewhere underneath I started my business not only to give me something to do, because before that I was just a single mom, you know? And so but I got to the point where it was my escape. I could go disassociate to work and not think about life. And that's even something that I struggle with a little bit right now. Like if the kids are being crazy, I'm like, I'm going to go work. Bye. Put my headphones in. See you later, you know?
And don't burn the house down.
Yeah. But I've always found so much love and joy in what I do that I feel like they were separate. Like I don't feel like, other than maybe if I was like physically having to go to court or whatever, that I wasn't able to actually work, but my work has always been where I escape to and where I find that joy that I'm not getting, you know, anywhere else. So that's why, and I think I just became like numb during it though too. Like I don't know. I had mentally prepared for the separation of two people much before I actually did the separation. I think I definitely went into fight or flight, and my fight or flight is I like disassociate. That's one reason we talked about not being able to remember anything. My brain's like, bye. See you later.
It didn't happen. It's gone.
Yeah. And I just like forge on. So I think I just like kind of would separate the two, and I didn't blend them much, and that's really what helped me get through it a lot. Yeah. Ugh.
I mean, I'm proud of you, right? That's like it's awesome what has come from it. You know, it's another reminder that like if your life is like crummy currently or was, or something is looming, or you're avoiding a separation because of that, like, it's going to not be fun. But at the same time, like the things that you learn about yourself, the happiness, I swear I'm not getting choked up. I had
I'm making you cry.
Sorry, it's so touching. I'm just kidding. It really is. But like just the happiness that you can feel on the other side of like once you get through the tough crap, there can be amazing things on the other side of that. And so you basically went from, you know, stay-at-home mom who wanted to do, you know, like this scroll saw. I think you started with a scroll saw, right?
For 2 years.
So you start with a scroll saw and you wanted to like see what you can make, to now, you know, not only surviving on your own. This dog is ruining the vibe. I'm just kidding.
Can you hear him really loud?
No, it's not really loud. You're fine.
He's like right there.
But you went from not only surviving to thriving. I mean, you bought your own home as a single mom of 3, and like it's so hard for anyone to buy a house right now. You know, like anyone buying a house is just like a huge like life goal. So, you know, just the fact that you're doing that and you did that on your small business income, that's amazing.
Right. And I struggle with like accepting it, because again I'm like, I didn't do anything like without all of my
did though. You
followers.
did hard work.
I know, I do. I put in, we can get into like work schedules and how I do it all and all that stuff in a minute.
I want to know. Yes.
Yeah. But I know that I would be nothing without my following, my friends, everybody that has supported me. Like none of this would be possible without them. And I feel like, I do feel like that's something, and not to like gloat about myself, but I do feel like that's a big factor in maybe a successful versus a non-successful business, is that the gratitude that it's never lost on me, that huge, that none of this is possible without the support from them, you know, whether it's 15 people or 15,000, like none of it's possible.
So, I mean, we've been doing a lot of like manifesting books and like positivity, and like your thoughts literally lead to like what you have or you don't have, and that kind of stuff. And gratitude is one of those things that is it's a very common thing in all of these like books and stuff, is that one, being grateful of what you have, where you've come, the things that you've done, and continuing to just push through. And consistency is that other one. You consistently posting content is huge, you know, just the consistency of us with the podcast. Most podcasts don't get past 5 episodes. Most podcasts don't monetize. Most podcasts, you know, people can't like actually, you know, turn into like at the very least a side income, let alone a full-time income, which is what we're hoping to create with the podcast.
Or just a community.
And you know, the thing that we heard the most when we were looking to grow our podcast was consistency is key. You don't have to have an awesome studio and video like we have on episode 1. You can improve and grow. Like we started with $200, basically $200 or $300 in equipment from Amazon. And we used that for a really long time before we did any kind of upgrades in equipment. And then, you know, just gradually went from there. But the consistency and doing an episode nearly every week is the reason we've been able to grow to where we have.
We are now.
So
yeah. And I think that goes for any business at all, like no matter what you're doing. Plus, throughout all of life, my business has been the one consistent, stable thing, and that I've always been able to like lean on no matter what I'm going through. So the consistency is both for me and for the business at the same time. We like benefit off of each other, and I think that's one reason why it's continued to be the way it's successful.
When I think anyone who has a laser business and you aren't getting that similar joy, it either may not be for you, which is totally okay. It doesn't have to be for you. How many of us have tried a million different kinds of like crafts or things? And it sucks when you spend a lot of money on something and maybe it isn't like your thing. Again, that's another reason why buying a small machine to begin with can be beneficial, because you can test it out and be like, oh, this isn't my thing. But then I think the other part is I see the people in the groups who are like, oh, I'm doing what everyone else is doing. Why am I not getting the sales? And it's like, are you doing what you want to do? Are you doing what you enjoy making? If not, that plays into it too. Because if you're just trying to make what everyone else is making and hoping like, hey, buy my stuff, like people subliminally feel that. But if like you're showing this thing that you made with your heart and soul and you absolutely love it, it's easy for you to portray that without a lot of like effort, and like you don't have to like beg them to buy your stuff, because you'll find your people and your people will want to buy, like, so, you know. And then another thing that I want to work on more that you kind of said with like the building the tables and the dust collection and that kind of stuff is the making promises to yourself and keeping them. I'm really, really bad at making promises to myself and breaking them. So like,
you
don't trust yourself.
Breaking.
Well, I break them all the time.
So you're good at breaking.
I'm good at breaking them. So I like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And then I don't. And then my body or brain knows like, are you? So like, even, I don't even believe myself when I promise myself things anymore, because it's like, you know, I don't go into it planning to break it.
You told me that last time.
Right. And it's like, you know, the books and, you know, that kind of stuff that like sometimes it's little things like, oh, I promise I'm going to wake up and make my bed every day.
Right.
And then doing that one little promise, you started your day by fulfilling what you said you were going to do. And then it kind of like all follows through. Like, I'm not a bed maker. Like we don't, because it's just, but I get how something similar, even if it's not that, like, you know,
it's also like
a small win of the day.
Small win of the day. And it starts out the day with like, you accomplished something. And so that helps snowball into other things, whether it's making the bed or something else. But you want to give yourself small, manageable tasks that you can like type yourself up to be like, look at all that I'm doing. That's my favorite thing on the list. Eat breakfast. Check. You know,
my ADHD, like it wants to do all or nothing. And so a lot of my promises to myself are all or nothing. And when I accomplish nothing because I made the goal unattainable, then I feel, you know, like disappointed and whatever. Like with our office, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do this in a day, and I don't have the time management that we're going to talk about on the Patreon portion. And then the other part is being unrealistic in how long I think something should take, and then when it doesn't happen that way, then it's like,
but then you can surprise yourself because complete transparency, I didn't tell her this, but I didn't think none of this office stuff was going to be done until we got back from our trip. Because we're leaving Thursday, and it's the 3 desks are built and they're like in place. I didn't think any of this was going to happen before we left.
No, I didn't either.
But
because I know us.
But also, there are a lot of things that haven't been done because this was done.
That's
Also,
the other part.
My balls. Remember my balls? You can't juggle all your balls.
But getting back to
about the balls.
But getting back to the small wins.
You're gonna drop one.
The small wins. Yours wasn't necessarily making the bed, But your small goal, was taking the boys to school.
Yeah. So,
in the morning.
And that actually, I mean, some of this would kind of be like in the life update maybe, but like, so when earlier this year, like I was just really struggling. Like I had zero energy. I felt like shit. And I was like, I'm sick of feeling like shit. I tried to find a doctor, and I love this small town, but like, there's a literal shortage of like available doctors, and I couldn't like get in to like get blood work and get something checked out. And like, because again, I felt like I was in like this hamster wheel, and I'm like, I'm just always sick. I have no energy. I feel like a literal piece of shit because like he would take the kids, he would get up with the kids. I was awake, but I was like laying there. I'm supporting him from like, what I could do basically from the bed. And then the second he would leave, I would fall asleep again. And like, he would cook breakfast, and like, he'd wake me up when breakfast was ready, and then I'd go eat. But like, even then it was like, I was ripping myself like out of bed, and I felt like a terrible mom. I felt like I wasn't like pulling my weight. Like it just was a shitty feeling. And I finally like made the priority. I pay like $200 to a, what are they even called? They're like,
concierge.
It's basically, I think it's like a concierge doctor, but I can text her if I have like questions and that kind of stuff. And I was like, you know what? Like, yeah, I don't want to pay it, but at the same time, I've tried the other route. It's not working. I need to do something. And apparently I didn't know that my B12 was that low, but it was like way, way low, like 200. And now it's up to like almost 500, which I can tell I think for the last, besides being sick last week or the week before, I went like 8 weeks, and even if I didn't take the kids to school, I was awake when you left. Like Monday, I go get the groceries, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I was getting the kids. And like, it's like, those are normal. It was even weird celebrating that win, because I'm like, this is what normal, quote, normal moms do all the time. Like, why are you celebrating like actually being, like a good mom? But like, I wasn't well earlier. So it was difficult to do those things. And then that also flowed over into my business too, because now I'm finally getting into the room, and it's late, and I only have a couple hours, and low energy, you don't have the motivation to do like all the bells and whistles. But making it a priority to take care of yourself too is huge, because I realized how much that was affecting everything. And I didn't our relationship was the one thing that like felt secure, but I was like, okay, but how long can this go on before it starts to like eat away at that? You know what I mean? There's like, so yeah, it's just making those promises to yourself. If something isn't working, continually like looking for solutions and not just like giving up, because it can be better on the other side. And I still have a long way to go as far as like improving my health and all of that stuff. But like starting, step one is literally, yeah.
Energy is hard. And I feel like I've been struggling with having, like, I don't feel like I can never get enough sleep at night. But then I stay up too late and like all the things. We have all the problems. But I think part of my problem, what I've realized is I push myself so much during the day that there's absolutely no way I could recover. And because honestly, for me to get a recovering amount of sleep, I need like 10 hours to actually be like, wake up and be good for the next day. But I don't think it's my sleep that's the problem. It's how much I'm doing during the day, and my body just physically can't recover at nighttime. Yeah, it's just managing that. And like we set alarms that most of the time we haven't listened to lately, but thankfully it hasn't been for like scrolling reasons. It's been literally working on the business, so that makes me feel a little bit better. But there have been the like weeks or months where it's like we're on
doom scrolling on Instagram, and then we look at the time and we're like, oh great, we're gonna get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and then you wonder why you are sluggish the next day and not like doing so well and not getting a ton done and distracted. It's like you have to, it's those memes of like, you have to be a wonderful wife and a wonderful mom and a wonderful business owner, and there's all these like responsibilities, and then the balls are gonna fall sometimes.
You can't juggle you can't have all your balls.
Right. It was a great moment.
Where can people find you?
I'm on like all the platforms, keeping up with them. Yes. I have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Pinterest. Pinterest is actually a good one. It's a slept-on secret. Yeah. Although I don't know if it converts to anything. It gets pretty good views there. Yeah. Is that all of them? Oh, I started doing the threads recently. Okay. All the things. Pearl and Pine.
And then your website is Pearl and Pine as well, right?
Yes. .shop.
.shop. Okay. And then the other one too is, do you have like all your like links and stuff with like your deals and all that? You were gonna start something, right? Of like sending out.
Oh yeah, I send out a newsletter every week now, which we haven't quite talked about that. Are we putting that on Patreon? The fact that I've like hired somebody on that end of it, the influencing part. Okay, I didn't know where you wanted to put it.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I have an LTK that I'm trying to grow right now.
What does LTK stand for? Do you know?
Well,
and did mom text you back? Did mom text back yet?
No. She's probably still sleeping.
Okay.
I know. No.
All right.
So, what was I talking about? Okay, LTK and then Amazon storefront. Yes, I'm really trying to mesh home decor, but it's mainly I want to be like a DIY home thing. Same thing, teaching like to make signs. I really want to push and influencing teaching how to like update your basic builder grade house or something, ways that it's like affordable and easy and that we can all do. So I'm trying to mesh the two together, not like abandoning one for the other, but meshing.
So you'll have to send me all of those links so we can include them in the show notes. And then another teaser for the general admission people is we're going to talk about some smoke that she got on a recent project in her home. So
some smoke. We're going to talk about time management, and I want to hear more about this.
Hopefully not literally.
Yeah, right? Yes.
Well, that'll do it for the general admission portion. If you want to catch the rest of this interview and conversation, you gotta have to head over to Patreon. But for everybody else, the life update coming up next. And we're back. Life update time.
Yeah.
A lot of things are going on.
Yeah. What are going on?
Huh?
What are going on?
What are going on?
What are going on?
Well, we leave on Thursday.
Yes.
It's Monday, by the way, for us. Yeah. I don't know when you're watching this, but it's the Monday after Thanksgiving. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving.
Mondays are hard.
Yes, we leave Thursday for Colorado.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna push the meetup because
what?
If they listen to this on Friday, the earliest you can listen to it, it's already gonna be.
We're gonna have a meetup.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's more than the current 3 to 5 people who are RSVP'd. If not, we'll have a really intimate meeting with those people. But yeah, so that's coming up. Visiting my dad and family and all of that. What else? Oh, and
we're revamping.
So we've sold Mariah. She's gone. And she's been gone for a week now. It's a week today.
Yeah.
And the new one will be picking up, hopefully the day after we return from Colorado.
Yeah, and then
on December 12th.
We'll be documenting that whole thing.
Yes, of course.
Yep.
Yeah. And then, just completely reorganizing my space so that I have a more pretty,
you'll notice in the lives.
area. Yeah, you'll notice it changed completely.
Yeah.
So I'm just excited about a new space that just works better for what I'm currently doing and working on, and just being, again, prettier. It was kind of just, we threw it all together with the furniture we got.
Yeah,
and had,
it was functional-ish.
Very heavy on the ish.
Yeah, and now it's becoming a little more functional.
Yeah, just baby steps, because, you know, this stuff takes forever moving everything around of like, okay, this doesn't fit here, so we have to put it over here, and where are we going to put this?
There's still also another move, you know, down the road eventually, because hopefully, you know, the podcast will be out of here. Yeah. And I'll be out of here as well. So yeah, you'll have more, and then who knows what it's going to look like. Right. Then. Yeah. When we finally get the space for 3.0 and start working on it.
Any more coffee?
Yeah.
What else?
I think that's it. We'll be in Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas. So first we'll be in Sacramento. Yes. On, I think it's February 1st. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's when. And then we'll be going from Sacramento to APA, ISE, International Sign Expo, the 4th through the 7th in Vegas. Yeah. So look forward to that in the next couple months. Yep.
And of course, while in Sacramento, we're going to be at Will's place.
Yes. Yeah, Will is hosting us. Thank you, Will. So yeah, I think that's most of it. Yeah, just trying to do the best we can, and pivoting and adjusting and trying to do business, life,
and all the ish in between.
And all the ish in between. So yeah.
So yeah, with that, it's been another great episode of the Riley Black Project. Crystal and John.
Bye. Something's in my eye.
Mamie, we're all done.